Okay, let's try this again. It's October the 29th, 2018, about 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm hoping the last video worked. Got the engine all apart. The biggest pain in the butt was marking and removing all these hydraulic lines for this valve body that goes on this plate. And there was one valve body right here on the side. You have to be careful when you take this apart. It actually separates the valve body into two separate pieces. I believe this is what takes your hydraulic flow from your steering to your swing cylinders in the back. This has got to do with the self-leveling. This is like I believe the self-leveling valve. I did not remove it. I left it in place. I have all 6 pistons and sleeves removed. I'm sorry, not the sleeves. I had the pistons and rods, or connecting rods, removed. I don't know if you can see inside of there, but what I did is there's actually 2 rags. I took like a Scott's rag, soaked it in oil and wrapped it around there and taped it, and then I took a regular shop rag, wrapped it around there and taped it. That's to help keep the moisture and oil, keep oil on it to keep it from rusting, but it's also just to help keep foreign debris off of it, as I'm going to try to hone these cylinder sleeves out. I'm going to try to reuse these because a kit is super expensive for this thing to replace these sleeves. So there was a lot of rust in about 3 of the 6 cylinders. However, this engine was probably rebuilt within the last 10 years. The connecting rod bearings were so clean, I'm planning on reusing those. There's not any damage to the rod bearings at all. So far so good. I'm just going to bore these out with what little daylight I have left. There's no way I can really film it, because this right here is barely even going to film right, being that it's like a little bit after 6. So anyways, I'll try to make a video of another tool I made to help me figure out that I had a burned head gasket, and I used shop air to put air pressure into each cylinder bore, which did 2 things. One is it pressurized the cylinder, and number 2 is when I pressurize the cylinder, I also try to work each of the pre-combustion chambers loose using a tool I made that goes inside of the glow plug, and I loosened those 2 bolts for each combustion chamber, and they came loose. Obviously I didn't let them pop all the way out because I didn't want to get hurt, but just loosening up to enough to get them out of there. I'll make a video of that later on. So anyways, just an update. This is the fuel injector pump. I am missing the bracket that goes here. This needs to be replaced. It's on the list of things after I get it running, of course. But it looks like if I get just a complete gasket set, and I decided I'm going to replace the head bolts, and because I believe they were stretched when I broke the engine loose, I always turn them all 90 degrees in the opposite of the opposite sequence of the torque down sequence. And also as a high school instructor, I went to a vocational school, so I shouldn't say really high school instructor. A vocational school instructor who builds racing engines always stated that you should never reuse head bolts more than once. So I know for a fact this engine's been gone through at least once in its lifetime. And these bolts are 50 years old, so I'm going to replace them. Unfortunately, they're really pricey. They're close to $200 to replace just this set of bolts for this engine. So a little bit of a lengthy video. So hopefully if anybody else decides to dig into one of these International 3616 tractors with a D236 engine, they'll kind of know what to do here. I might take a look at the water pump. I'm probably just going to replace it with a new one. You can buy a new water pump on eBay for really cheap. Well, relatively cheap-ish. While I have it apart, I removed the fuel filter housing was here. These are the repairs that were done that led me to believe that I believe this engine was probably overheated. So whenever I get this to a point where I'm going to try to get it running, before then I'm going to plan on removing. First I'm going to mark and then remove this fuel pump, and I'm going to replace all 5 of these freeze out plugs with brass, and I still haven't decided if I'm going to go ahead and replace all the gaskets for this motor. I know it has several oil leaks, but my concern is when I go to replace this front one, I have to find a way to support this engine, and you know, support the engine, and then this whole front cover's got to come off. So I'm still debating whether I really want to do that, but I believe it's been leaking. If not, it was leaking from the valve cover. There's plenty of oil and grease was all over this thing. So, might even have hopefully that's not a broken bolt there. It's probably just a wad of grease. So, alright, that's it. Try the deer right out.